Have you ever noticed that no matter how much you try, your partner doesn't seem to be motivated? Not in his career, not in his hobbies, not in his life, not in your relationship, nowhere. And in those exact moments, you start thinking, why isn't he trying? Why isn't he ambitious? Why doesn't he care as much as I do? But here's the truth. Motivation isn't something you can force. You cannot push a man to become more. You cannot guilt him. You cannot manipulate him with logic, nagging, or even pressure. Motivation comes from a very different place. It comes from within himself. But don't worry, you can always create an environment for him to try. Hello everyone and welcome to High Self Podcast. In today's session, I will share with you a few tips on how to motivate your man and your partner when he simply doesn't seem to care for absolutely anything happening in his or her life. Let's get into it. The first step is appreciating his masculine energy. One of the biggest mistakes women make is expecting men to act like women do. They expect him to be emotionally expressive in the way she is. They expect him to multitask, organize, plan like she does. But a man's energy is different. He thrives when he feels needed, respected, and admired. So what you can do is, instead of criticizing what he isn't doing, I want you to focus on admiring what he is actually doing. Even the small things. Tell him, I see how hard you're working. I believe in you. Your decisions matter to me. Because admiration and validation are the fuels for a man's soul, and they create the confidence for him to take action in whatever aspect of his life he wants. Remember, when a man feels capable, he will move even mountains, but only if he feels your trust in him. Step 2 is stepping back and don't take over. Another common mistake we can see in our daily life is taking over a man's responsibilities. He might be a little indecisive about his career, about his job, and maybe he's uncertain about his future. So what you're starting to do in moments like this are you're starting to plan, you're starting to research, to think, and in other words, you're simply stepping into his role. So the problem is right here, because when you step into his role, he no longer feels the need to act. He no longer feels his masculine energy, and his motivation drops often without even realizing it. And the solution here is simply to step back. Let him make decisions, let him take risks, let him lead. Yes, it might be scary for you, of course. Sometimes you feel like you have to fix things in him. But the real magic is that when you trust his abilities to handle his life alone, he will rise to the challenge. And when he succeeds, he will naturally admire you for your trust and your support. Tip number 3 is to present your needs as challenges and not demands. Let's take a quick look at a man's brain. It is wired to solve problems. That's it. If you present your needs as a demand, he might resist. If you nag or complain, he might even shut down. But if you present your needs as a problem he can solve, he feels motivated. So instead of saying, I wish you would spend more time with me, try saying, I feel a little disconnected lately. I would love your help in finding a way we can reconnect after work. You see the difference? You've turned your emotions into a challenge he wants to solve. You've appealed to his natural problem-solving instincts, and you've kept the conversation positive and feminine and not controlling. The next step is absolutely crucial. When a woman is stressed, anxious, or trying to control, it drains a man's motivation. When a woman stays calm, grounded, and radiant, it inspires a man. And if you haven't understood it till now, that's your sign. I want you to understand that your energy is magnetic. Your confidence, your joy, your playfulness, this creates an environment where he wants to step up. Think about it for a moment. When you feel safe, admired, appreciated, you naturally want to give more to someone who loves you. It's absolutely the same for men too. So instead of pushing him, invite him with your energy. Instead of nagging, radiate admiration, and instead of controlling, relax and trust the process. So one of the most powerful ways to motivate him is to focus on your own growth. And yeah, I know you might say, girl, you're being selfish. Just wait. When he sees you pursuing your dreams, working on yourself, and simply living your purpose, he naturally wants to rise to your level. But the key here you have to understand is that this isn't about competing. It's about inspiring through action and not through pressure. So you don't say, why aren't you doing this? You show, I'm building my life, I'm following my path, and I would love for us to grow together. Your success is a beacon, your energy is contagious, and without saying a word, you motivate him to step into his best version. Understand that motivation is emotional and not logical. Men don't get motivated by logic, they get motivated by emotion. If you want him to pursue something, show him why it matters emotionally. Not just for him, but for the life you're building together. Not just for the results, but for the connection, love, respect, and admiration. Emotion is the engine, and logic is the map. So without emotion, no plan will ever have flow. And last but not least, be his safe place. A man can take risks and act boldly only if he knows he has a woman who believes in him. When he fails, you don't shame him. When he doubts himself, you don't criticize. And when he's scared, you don't withdraw. You become the safe place where he can be vulnerable, and vulnerability is where growth and motivation truly happen. Because a man who feels safe and supported will move mountains not just for himself, but for the woman who lifts him up. So, as a final message, I want to say that motivating a man is not about changing him. It's about creating an environment where he can become his best version. So, appreciate his energy, step back and let him lead. Present your needs as challenges. Stay in your feminine energy. Lead by example. Appeal to emotion and be his safe place. When you start doing all of these things, you see that he will step up not because he has to, but because he wants to. And that is what true alignment is.